It's time for Blackjack to finally sit down and talk about this. I kind of had a feeling that if I started something like this and did a SportsCraft thing and said, hey, I can talk about anything you want me to, this would probably be the big thing everybody wanted. What was Under the Lights? What was the whole deal? Why did it fail? What was supposed to happen? And why is it never coming back? So, sure, I'll sit down and kind of go through everything with you. It may not be as interesting as you think it is, or maybe it'll be more interesting than you think it is. I guess that's really one of two options there. But yeah, let's go ahead and dive right in. So, Under the Lights was an idea that I had to come back when I finally kind of got myself together. Life was going a little weird. I was moving from New Jersey straight down to North Carolina. I had no money with me, and I was pretty much just working a bartending and restaurant gig at the time. And I really wanted to get back into YouTube again, but didn't want to force myself. That was actually, if anybody remembers, around June of 2013, I think was when I took my first hiatus, and the jokes of like, oh, you'll be back before, Derrick Rose comes back. And sure enough, that never happened. I mean, it kind of technically did, but it didn't. But yeah, so I needed something to come back from because Two Tails to me, I couldn't continue that. It just felt dead. At the time, I don't know. I just wasn't really interested in doing it anymore. And on top of that, the people that I was working with it on, one of them is all the way out in Australia. It was just kind of hard to really combine together and get voiceover work done. It was a little bit more work than I really wanted to put into something that I just wasn't, knowing what the end game was for that series. It wasn't doing anything for me. So I wanted to come back with something new, something refreshing, and I decided to do Under the Lights. Under the Lights, essentially the concept was I wanted to do high school football. I wanted to give a different perspective and get some depth to NCAA football other than, you have a college and here are some recruits and you can just go ahead and, just recruit all these people. Well, who are these people? What's the backstory? I used to watch Kane's old videos where he would go ahead and just kind of give a reason for why some guy may have spurned him in one episode and gone to a different school, and then all of a sudden it kind of became like a rivalry. Like he would play a game against that team and say, well, this is the recruit that we lost. I wanted something like that, but on a grander scale. And that's kind of how Under the Lights came about. Under the Lights also was going to feature some voice acting. If you guys remember, a lot of the episodes featured, I'm trying to think, going down the list, Moonlight Swami, Hurricane was in there, Wiza was in there. I don't know if any of you guys remember Crash Davis from the old Sports CMM contest. He was in there. I've got Peter Jaguars in there. Franchise play, Brian, he was in that too. I got Nodus fan, Sports Gaming Universe in there. I tried to get as many people as I possibly can involved in this because I wanted it to have such a realistic feel and give everybody as much character as I possibly could. And there was no way that I could do real high school football, so I created fictional schools. If anybody remembers, there's Chapel Hill Prep. That's not a real school. Wake High is not a real school. I live in Wake County. Wake County is a thing, but Wake High isn't. There were 10 other schools that I had in there as well. There was more. There was another school that I had more high. Here's a funny story. One of the pitches that I actually had, and I was thinking about rolling with, was that I had Arios involved in this as well. I was going to have him play the role of one of the quarterbacks, and I believe, his last name is Levine, and his first name is really, it's slipping my brain right now. He was going to play a quarterback for More High. I was gonna run an idea where More High was just gonna secretly go undefeated during the year and actually end up upsetting Wake in the final, or I was gonna think having Wake go over them as kind of like the new challenge. So the idea was that Chapel Hill and Wake have kind of a bit of a rivalry, kind of playing off the UNC NC State kind of hatred of each other. Down here in North Carolina, NC State and Duke hate one another. Don't really hate one another. There's some respect there, but they both definitely hate UNC. So I wanted to play a little bit off of that and let Moore kind of represent what Duke is, and have Duke essentially have Moore be the team that wins it all that year. Even though Wake would have gone and beaten Chapel Hill in the regular season, and then beat them again in the playoffs. But then have Moore be the one that beats them in the end. But anyway, the point is that Arias was supposed to play the quarterback. And the quarterback there, they were actually going to go through all their recruits and schools. And what was going to happen in the end was that my character, DeAndre Britton, Smalls was a part of this too. Jeez, it's all coming back to me now. DeAndre Britton was actually supposed to, was going to join cahoots essentially, with Levine and end up going to Virginia Tech. I was actually debating between Virginia or Virginia Tech. I think it was leaning more towards Virginia. But then I thought about, Frank Beamer leaving and maybe having him go on and be the next, go on with whoever the next coach was. So yeah, but the idea was that those two would be together. And if anybody remembers, there was a cornerback for Chapel Hill as well with dreadlocks. His name is Julian Roselle. I remember it vividly because I wanted him to sound kind of pretentious. But really what it is that his parents are Haitian. And I wanted to give him a French-sounding name, or that Haitian French-sounding name. So Julian Roselle, essentially. And they were all actually going to go to Virginia together because all three of them were supposed to be like the academia types. And then they would have joined together. I was actually going to change Britain's number from 25 to 11. The reason being that the coach there wanted to maybe disguise him more as a possible quarterback, so he could have possibly switched roles from quarterback to wide receiver or whatever it may be, and just kind of let him play that way. And then Levine would have kept his high school number of 9, and they would have been together and been 911, and the whole thing would have been like, the sirens go off whenever they're on the field, and I would have made a whole bunch of like police related humor to it. That was some of the stuff that I had essentially fleshed out for this. A Slaughter, I didn't know where I wanted to send him yet. I was really debating between Miami and Texas. There was a part of me that actually wanted him to stay in NC State and just kind of wreck house. There was a lot of like different elements, but do you see where I'm getting at? Is essentially I wanted to create stories and backlog for these guys so that when they get into the college level, they're all at different schools, and all in different places doing different things, and you get to judge from their high school career essentially if they became a star when they were in college, if they kind of stayed the same, or if they were a total bust and it wasn't worth recruiting them. There was another guy, if anybody remembers, from Chapel Hill, who was a running back. The running back who wore 3 and had dreadlocks. His name was Cy Flynn. And Cyrus was actually supposed to go to. I was going to send him to. That was the. Okay, I remember why I wanted to send Slaughter to Miami now. I wanted to send Slaughter to Miami with Flynn. And they would just join forces together in Miami because Flynn's home state is Florida. He was actually going to be a top running back from Florida who got recruited to come up to North Carolina because his family was looking for work, and they essentially were a prep school. A lot of prep schools tend to get bigger recruits and don't have to worry about certain things in recruiting. So that was kind of the backstory behind it. So yeah, that was Pretty much it was that I wanted to send him to Miami, or I wanted to send him to USC. I wanted to send him somewhere where it was a program that used to have a lot of swagger and power back in the 2000s or in the 1990s, and have him go there and be the next star, and possibly have his number retired once he was there. So why do I like character so much? um, I feel like it gives you more of a reason to watch, and it gets you more invested in everything that's happening around it. Somebody actually has an old quote that I used to that I said when I was coming back, and I said, I can't remember it word for word. It's essentially, your roof is my basement. I just ask that you keep the noise down while I work. And it's weird to me that, like, I guess it's not really weird. It's kind of cool, actually, that somebody actually, I can't remember who he is, asked me if he could use that quote in his high school yearbook. Um, I try to look at what other people do and digest it. Like, I remember I told somebody once that, I don't laugh at Jamarcus Russell, for instance, because that was the example, because he was way more relevant at the time that we were talking about this. And just like laugh at him and be like, oh man, he's such a bust, like he sucks or whatever. Sure, it's easy to make a joke about him, but I try to look and see what are the things that didn't make him successful where he was, or in even like what could have been. And even when I'm looking at somebody successful, I say, what takes that person to the next level? I try to look at what improves, and that's kind of the concept and what I meant by saying your roof is my basement. A lot of people see a glass ceiling, and I'm looking at the glass ceiling below me. I'm trying to see what else is out here that isn't being done or hasn't been done. And that's why I like creating an open universe, because I want to give you more than just, hey, if I'm doing like the Miami Dolphins, for instance, or the Brooklyn Nets, or when I was doing Two Tails, it's not like, hey, I'm the only team out here. This is my story, and you're gonna listen to it, and everything else that happens is irrelevant. That's not how this works. Like imagine if Batman, for instance. Sure, yes, does he beat the bad guy in the end? Sure. But sometimes the bad guy gets the upper hand on him too. That story and those characters' backstories need to be told. We need to know about the Joker. We need to know about Harley Quinn. We need to know about Poison Ivy. We need to know about all the other villains to get an idea of what is their motivation. Maybe they're not that bad. Maybe they are doing this for a certain reason. And us having that gets us more involved into that character, and then everything that leads up eventually to their battle. That's why I like character and creating the universe around them. It'd be boring to me. I feel like I wouldn't be any different from anybody else or what anybody else is producing if it was just like, hey, here's the Brooklyn Nets. We're just going to rebuild, and I'm just going to trade and trade and trade until, I get, the players that I want, and then we get the players we want. We win the championship. All right, series is over. You want to see the downfalls. You want to see why I may be invested in looking at certain players. You want to know everything like that, and seriously get invested into it. Like, I already see some people from the 2K video that are like, I really like Derek Patterson. I want to see what's up with him. Or like, Deshaun Miles look cool. Or there was one guy who tweeted me and was talking about, what about that 7'2" dude from from Senegal? Like, that's interesting. Like, he's 7'2". Like, why? What's kind of the story behind him? Why? If he's a draft prospect, what's going on? There needs to be those little things there to get people involved, and that's what I like. So overall, why did this whole thing fail? Essentially, well, actually, you know what? There's two reasons. One, my computer was a piece of shit. And the computer absolutely crapped out on me. So I couldn't really record episodes. My graphics card was fried. I was getting frustrated, and I said, can't I can't put money into a computer right now because I just was kind of like on the brink of like living and really being able to devote time to this. So I picked living so that I could come back 2 years later to do this. Um, yeah, that was pretty much the main reason why, but there were other factors as well. To really ask these many people, as I mentioned before, to do voiceover work is insane. Um, it's hard to really kind of keep tabs on people when they don't live with you or work with you every single day. Um, I don't know if Greco does videos right now. I know at the time he was, um, but it's hard to just kind of be like, "Hey, Greco, I need you to do this," and get it back to me, send me a voiceover, great, and then kind of work with it, and then have to go back with people and be like, "No, no, 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 just do this over," blah 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 blah. That's a lot of work. If anybody's ever watched any abridged series on the internet, whether it's like Naruto or a Dragon Ball Z or Yu-Gi-Oh! Abridged, you have no idea when you get other people involved into these projects how much time it really takes to make one episode. Like when Lil Karibo was doing this at first, it was just him, so he didn't have to worry about anybody else. But then with everybody else getting better at making series and collaborating and working together with people, he had to also improve his game and do things a little better and get more people involved. And now, you watch an episode now and it's like incredible. The voice quality and everything is incredible, but everything comes out a lot slower because it needs that time and nurture to it because you've gotten that many people involved. That was eventually, I think, going to be Under the Lights' downfall. I could have just done it like as my own thing and just said, all right, here's the backstory and reason to care about them. But I think with the hype that I put behind it and kind of giving you all those voice characters, it would have been weird to have just all of a sudden been like, all right, they're all gone now. I think some people would have been really disappointed by it. So that's why I think it would have probably eventually failed, because there's no way that I would have been able to have gotten everybody on the same page to produce in enough time as I would have liked. It was ambitious as hell, but realistically, I don't think it would have worked. So I guess this automatically transitions into so then what the fuck are you doing with NBA 2K17 right now then? This is a little different because I'm not asking anybody to voice any of these people. I'm dead serious. I'm creating a draft class that is essentially going to be my future class of 2018, and that you guys are all very welcome to use in your own series or your own franchise plays or whatever you're doing, and go ahead and use them to your own likeness. That's fine. That's part of the reason why I'm creating this too, is for you. But what's different from this than from Two Tails, or not Two Tails, Under the Lights, is that with Under the Lights, I had people voicing these people. I, as the owner of the Brooklyn Nets, am essentially going to be their voice for them. Where you'll be able to judge them based on their play. You'll be able to judge them based on games that they have, what they do, what their abilities are, but you'll get to see all of their progression, and I'll provide the storyline and details for you as it goes along. So it's a lot different. This will allow me to produce episodes a lot easier, as I've already got episode 2 pretty much prepared and ready to go. The only thing that I need to do is get a little voice work done and throw together a few other things and try to get feedback from you guys as well. But for the most part, I'm ready to go for episode 2, and I know where I'm going for episode 3. Things like that are already done. It's much easier for me to do things this way because I really wanted to do a follow-on or a different version of Under the Lights, and this is essentially it. And NBA 2K17 has an amazing creator, team builder that allows me to do this. And I've created fictional schools, as you've seen. Derek Patterson, Hakeem Roger, Jefferson, and Paulista. Those guys that I created are all part of Sacred Heart Prep. I went to a prep school, so I kind of always want to bring that knot back in. You have the Shawn Miles at Chesapeake Academy. You have the Shays brothers. They go to St. Augustus. And then you have Jamel Reese. Because the reason why I said Jamel Reese was because I wanted his nickname to be Jay Reese. Jay Reese. And see, like, it's things like that I think about. It's like, like, how can I play with their names a little bit to give them a little bit more personality, or what can I do? Like, create two brothers and have them on the same high school team, because that would make sense. Of course, brothers would play with each other on the same basketball team. Don't you? I know what you did. To do little things like that to give them a little bit more life and reason to kind of care about them. So yeah, I'm creating them in all these different high school teams and just kind of running with the flow. And like I said, you'll be able to pretty much see their progression all the way through. I know what colleges they're going to. There is no guessing game in this because there's no recruitment feature. So they're essentially going to where I'm telling them. There's only maybe 3 guys I'm kind of debating with, but for the most part, everybody else is set in place. I know where they're going. I know what teams are going to look good next year. And their storylines will just develop from that. So yeah, I promise you, NBA 2K17 is going to be a lot of fun. The series I'm going to do is going to be very deep, because not only are you going to get the high school, you're going to get college this year. So yes, I will be focusing on guys like Harry Giles and Dennis Smith Jr., Markelle Fultz, and their story as well. But as you saw from the video, not only am I going to be telling their chapter, I'm telling the chapter of the class coming in ahead of them. Or, yes, ahead of them. I'm using that right. It's going to be a lot of fun. I promise you. It's going to be very, very fun. I had a lot of time to kind of sit down and tinker with things, and I needed a workaround for creating like a McDonald's All-American uniforms and all that stuff. So I just created a senior week and said it was sponsored by Adidas and just ran with it. And everybody seemed to really like it and all the hard work and everything that I put into it. And this is the most excited I've been for, a series and seeing that this can really be done in a long time. So yeah, that's it for SportsCraft this week. I hope I answered pretty much all of your questions for Under the Lights. If there's something you want to see in the next episode, I don't know if I'll do a creation vid. Maybe you want to see how did I come up with uniform designs for this. Just let me know down in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't, and I will see you on the next episode.